Mogo Zoom came about through a collaboration of minds and creativity from myself and Patty Wallace, my partner, and Clive Brookbanks, who works at Mogo Zoo. We decided that it might be a very good idea to put together a program for photographers to come and take photographs. Mogo Zoo has some of the most amazing animals and exotic creatures on the planet, and it seemed quite a shame that photographers didn't have access to them. Put together the program, came up with the name Mogo Zoom over a glass of wine or two, and the program took shape in 2011, and we've been running the program ever since. I love sharing my enthusiasm for photography and for nature, and to find people of a like mind that you can enjoy to be with and share things with is a great thrill. And teaching allows me to not only interact with people, but we learn from each other. I've learned a lot over the years, and it's a thrill to be able to pass that information on and see others benefit from it. Well, that's an interesting question, and particularly for wildlife photography, to have a faster shutter speed. People don't realise that a lot of the problems with focus or things not being sharp is basically to do with not having a fast enough shutter speed. And these days, with the technology the way it is and the cameras so sophisticated, there's no reason to be not getting sharp images. I can't really say that there's one funniest moment or experience that I've had photographing animals and birds, but animal behaviour I find very amusing, and quite often I'm highly entertained by them. The moth here, this Epicoma tristis is the name of the moth, and I was photographing it, and suddenly it just sort of turned around and stared at me, which I found quite disconcerting in a way. A little tiny moth, and suddenly I've got eye contact. It was just literally staring straight at me when I took the photograph. And I love the detail here on the moth's wings. You can see all the scales, and it's quite amazing when you see them up close like that. The crested terns that were doing their courting dance, that's always entertaining in the season when you've got animals interacting with each other. But I do love it when I get animals interacting with me. And the little echidna here just kept following me around. I was trying to get photos, and every time I would get down to get photos, it just come straight towards me, and I had to keep backing off. And eventually, I did get some photographs of the echidna, but it was almost fascinated by me as much as I was fascinated by it. And the little swamp wallaby, which was so gorgeous. I was able to get close enough. Mum didn't mind me getting close. I took my time to do so, of course, and never want to stress an animal to get photographs. And the little wallaby just made eye contact with me and kept looking at me as if to say, "What are you and what are you doing?" Which were all these wonderful moments that you remember forever. Especially this gorgeous little female Australian kestrel that just absolute delight, and so beautiful to have that eye contact. Small, fast-moving subjects are definitely challenging. I like to use flash for that. I use a manual flash off camera so that I can direct the light, and I like the light to look as natural as possible. The joy of that is I can control the lighting. I have the flash, the output, and also how I mix it with the available light, the ambient light that's there for me. I am known to use extra lighting, such as flash or fill lights or reflectors, things like that. They're almost a must-have, particularly in nature photography. Unfortunately, most subjects don't come and find you. You have to go and find them, and there's a fair bit of research involved. You're always keeping track of your subjects, and knowing your subjects is really important. It's one of those things where you only become a good nature photographer when you take a very strong interest in your subjects, knowing them, knowing the seasons, knowing their behaviour. Behaviour is really important. Being able to predict behaviour, that's a key sometimes to a great photo. I'm always on the lookout. I usually go out prepared to do particular subjects. I can't carry all of my equipment with me, so I can't carry great big lenses and macro gear at the same time. I have to decide what is it I'm going out to shoot. Now, sometimes you do get lucky. This green longicorn beetle, which landed in my bird bath. I went out to fill up the bird bath, and there he was, and I fished him out and put him up on my hibiscus plant, and he very kindly climbed up on top of one of the flowers and sat there and posed for me. Obviously, he had to dry out, but I took great advantage of this and took some photos of him. Absolutely beautiful. So sometimes you don't have to go very far to find things to photograph. And that's one of the joys of being a nature photographer. We're surrounded by nature, so there's always things for me to photograph. Well, the simple answer here is nature itself, because nature is endlessly fascinating. I never tire of photographing the natural world. It's my greatest inspiration, and the more I see and the more awestruck I am. I feel so fortunate. I feel my responsibility is to capture nature in the very best way possible, and that's to use the best techniques I know. Obviously, most of those are gleaned from years of experience, so that I can show others the wonder and the beauty of nature. And the joy of photography is that we can capture single moments, split seconds, that show how wonderful and how inspiring nature can be. I'm going to show you some of my probably more challenging images that I've put together, but I'm not necessarily going to talk about how I've done it in this interview. I'm going to save that for the presentation that I'm doing for you next week on the 9th of February, where I can actually show a bird in flight in one image. The action of the bird, the wings, is an amazing thing with digital photography, and it's not all about manipulation and putting things in that weren't there or taking things out. It's about being able to tell a story. One of my favourite things to do is to photograph the night sky, and we're so lucky here in Australia to have such clear skies most of the year, and to get out there with some friends and share those moments is just a wonderful thing. One of the places I do gravitate to an awful lot is the Boundary National Park. Thank goodness has been reopened again. We just had a fire there very recently, apart from all the troubles with the COVID. But they seem to be back in operation now, and of course a lot of the tourists have gone, so that's my favourite time to go there. Anywhere down the south coast is so beautiful, and everywhere has its own unique things to offer. So I try to get along the south coast as often as I can. I'm obviously down at the zoo quite a bit, so there's that area down there that is wonderful to photograph. I feel very blessed to live in Jervis Bay and all of the wonderful things that are here for me to photograph. Well, I can't emphasise enough the importance of good technique. It is the game changer for photographers. Once you master the camera is just a tool, it's an instrument, and we have to learn how to play that instrument. Relying on the camera to make all the decisions to get you the shots that you want is not going to happen. Going out and buying the best equipment, buying new cameras and the latest lenses and thinking that's going to make your photography better is, I'm afraid, just not going to work. Taking the time to learn how to be a better photographer, to understand nature better, it's just priceless.